I don't necessarily recommend walking into a place and be like, hey, you guys really fucked up last week. Do you want a new logo this week?
What a show. Hey, how about a logo?
So these are 15
Awesome.
really, really easy pickings, okay, on signs that somebody you see out in the marketplace needs a new logo. You're listening to the Angry Designer Podcast, where we help frustrated graphic designers crush all the industry BS and learn what it takes to charge what you're worth and build badass, rewarding careers. In this episode, we're diving into how we recognize when a company's logo is crying out for some help. You're going to learn about how to spot outdated logos and use that knowledge to pitch rebrand deals, why recognizing logo mistakes, but not necessarily pointing them out as mistakes, can position you as a brand expert, and the key signs that show a logo is hurting a business and how to offer the solution to the company. So sit back or sit up and get ready to level up your client game, because there's a lot of really juicy knowledge in this episode that hopefully you can take advantage of to start closing rebrand deals. All right. That's just all kind of fun.
Yeah. Oh, we haven't poured our drinks yet.
I was just going to say, I think
Can I do that?
That is the most important part of
Yes.
well, maybe not, but it's a good way to start every episode.
Yes.
So today we are trying something very special. We always try something special. This one
Something
is
special.
the Ardmore. And I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's a Highland single malt sauce. Man, I suck at Scottish accents. I just suck at accents, period, don't I?
I'll do it. It's Ardmore. It's delicious. It's great.
That's not too bad. That's not too
love
bad.
it. I'll
right?
drink it
Check
right
it out.
straight.
I mean, this brand is beautiful. If you look at
Yes.
that, okay, it still comes in its own package. It's kind of got like a topographical,
Yeah.
you can see the island, you can see the train tracks, you can see the elevation. It's actually quite nicely done.
Very sexy.
And it's supposed to be nice and peaty. So
Yeah. Let's give it a whirl.
Let
shall
us
we?
enjoy, shall we?
Salute. Sniffer test. Ooh,
I can
nice.
smell that peat. Oh, dude. See, and for the price point, this is
good.
fantastic.
That's
so
really good.
this is actually a lower price Scotch. Some of the Scotch that we have is usually in the like 120, 130,
It's usually
150
higher
a
up there.
bottle.
Yeah.
This is half of that. And it is delicious.
Yes.
Why would we choose to go with one of these other ones when you got something so like this is a nice balance of everything?
It's perfect, right?
Wow, it really is such an easy drinker. You can get in trouble with this.
Yeah, it's not going to be here for long.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it might be because I'm not here next week.
Oh, that's right.
Right?
Maybe I'll take a little
Yeah.
nip every
So you
once
can
in a
have
while.
your day drinking.
Just sneak into your office under the desk.
Yeah, right. Just drink it away. Yeah. As opposed to all those other times you sneak in my office and drink all the rest of the alcohol anyway.
Exactly. Right.
Where's
Right
Sean?
in front of you.
Oh, he's underneath Moss's desk again.
Drinking under his desk.
Yes.
Yeah, drinking. Yeah.
Under-
Nothing else under his desk.
Get your minds out of the gutter, you weirdos.
I don't want everybody to know how I got this podcast.
So this has been a long week. It's been a busy
It
week.
has. It's been a very busy week.
We had some good interviews earlier on for the podcast, but we also had a lot of work stuff, and it's ramping up because September and October is like the busiest time for us.
Yep.
Because we have 2 back-to-back giant shows.
Yes.
So it's pretty crazy. And then all of a sudden you jam in this new project that we got. We got a new logo project.
Oh.
And I want to say it's a rebrand because the company itself has come so far, but because their mission is the same, what they're doing, their customers, all that's the same. This is probably more of a refresh, which is kind of, we're going to definitely go into that in this episode, of course, right? But it's funny because I kind of feel it was a lost opportunity for any graphic designer in that city because looking at this logo, it is so this was so due for a logo redesign years ago, if not 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, it's that old, is it?
Dude, it's just so basic, so old. Wow. It's just like you look at it and you're like, wow, you guys could do so much better.
Right.
But they didn't because they probably didn't know any better.
Right.
And I bet you it's because a lot of the designers didn't know any better either. They just figured, oh, they're successful, they're ongoing, they're still in business.
Yeah.
They're not interested in a logo rebrand,
Right.
Or a logo refresh or whatever. But again, huge missed opportunity, I feel, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, dude, we need to quickly talk about this, because I think that a lot of designers don't realize, when something's right in front of them, just because the company's successful, dude, there comes a time where that logo needs to reflect what that company is, the times, the dates, and everything else. So we got a list, of signs on why your customer should update their logo.
Nice.
And then we're going to dance around a couple of the other things that kind of go here, right? Because, so for example, we talked about what we're doing right now, right? Is, we're creating them a new logo.
Right.
We're not necessarily rebranding the company, right? We're not creating a new brand.
Yeah.
We're not building a new brand. This legitimately is a new logo. And there is a difference for that, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So like I said, this company is still the same old company, okay? Mission's exactly the same. Their core values the same. Their position in the market, nothing's changed,
Right.
okay? The reality is it's just the identity, sadly is outdated, right? And, it's standing out like a sore thumb, okay? Now, if somebody was like, well, what's the difference? Was that a new brand? Not really. Okay, new brand is kind of like you've elevated your company to a new place, right? You've undergone some sort of significant change, whether it's your product, your shift in audience, services, right? Or heaven forbid, you're running away from a really bad reputation, which happens a lot, right?
Oh, right.
And that happens a lot, right?
Yeah.
So that's more like, you need to communicate this whole new transformation of the company, where what this was just, it needed a new logo because the logo was old, it was dated, nobody had touched it. And the company's still the company and still rocking, but they needed help taking that. So there is a time and place for a new logo versus a new brand.
Yes. So in this situation with this company, what moves them to want to update? Because a lot of these guys, you see these co-ops and they just keep the same thing.
Yep.
It's really irrelevant to them one way or the other. What would possess these guys to do this?
So again, I think what possessed them to do it at this, and I mean, shame on us. We could have pursued this earlier. If we weren't so damn busy, we would have. This
is it.
Okay, but this is what I mean. There's a lost opportunity for everybody else.
Yes.
So for this specific customer, the reason, being is they have a second company that we did create a brand new logo. We created a new brand. That new logo, new brand resonated so well with the audience. It's just in such a short time, everybody recognizes it. They're jumping all over it. And they're like, wow, look at all the attention they're getting. And now by comparison, we don't look a little outdated. We look huge
way
outdated. We are so far away from this other, from the other identity.
It's the parent company then, essentially.
So it's funny because we first rebranded, completely came up with a brand new brand, look, corporate ID for the spinoff company.
Yes.
But now the parent company is like, wow.
Like, hey,
you know what?
Well, there is a great, kind of example of, landing and expanding.
Yeah,
right?
It really is, actually, right?
Totally,
God knows how much I want to get right in there, right?
Yeah.
So again, that was the difference between, if a company needs a new logo versus a new brand.
Yeah.
But now, even when it comes to this new logo, new brand, right? There's two ways of taking this, okay? And again, this is also a big difference that I don't think people pay enough attention to, okay? Because you have the opportunity to just refresh what's currently there.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have an opportunity to just overhaul, completely, rebrand if you decide to go there. What's there? Okay.
Yeah.
So you have that option, regardless with whether this is a new brand or whether it's a whole new logo altogether. But there is a difference between refreshing an existing logo and then completely rebranding an existing logo.
Yes.
Okay. So if it was just a refresh, okay, like a refresh, I think we all understand what refresh means just because that word fresh always makes people feel so good. This
fresh.
Scotch is
refresh.
Yes. Oh yeah, it is, right? But I mean, this is basically if, your logo relatively still's legit.
Yep.
Okay, but it needs some minor adjustments. Maybe the font is a little outdated and it needs a little bit of a refresh.
Impact?
Okay. Yeah. No, that's an overhaul, dude. That's an explosion, right?
Damn it.
Maybe you need to simplify some elements or maybe adjust the colors a little bit, right? This still keeps your existing logo recognizable. Everybody gets it.
Right.
Okay. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like a completely new company. And recently, everybody will probably witness that, this is something that just happened with Pentagram that they did with PayPal. Okay. So PayPal has this new spin-off product and it's still PayPal, the way everybody recognizes it, but they just went in and made some tweaks to the font, tweaks to the edges. At first glance, people may not even realize that there has been a change. Us graphic designers absolutely would, right? I mean, it glares at us, but chances are most of the market wouldn't even realize that anything changed, right? So that would be a really good current example of a refresh, okay? Other examples of a refresh that everybody would absolutely recognize. Starbucks. For the most part, okay, every Starbucks logo in the past 20, 30 years has been the same logo. Dare I even say 40. It's still been, they've changed the fonts, they've changed the positions of the fonts, okay? Say what you want, even when they got rid of the fonts around the logo and just focused on the mermaid, still the exact same thing. These were all just small little refreshes, but you can say that the logo still remained the logo. There was no huge surprises there that made anybody jump back and be like, what are they doing? Whoa, Actually, I think people still complain about it, well, because it's Starbucks, right? Google is a perfect example of refresh.
Yes.
Okay. Their very, very first logo was like skeuomorphism, letters that had like a shine on one side, a shadow. They were beveled, and they had different colors.
Yes.
But all Google has done, since they've started, is just updated the font.
Yeah.
Colors are the same. Positions the same. How they use it is the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Granted, maybe they have introduced new items like with the G Suite and stuff, but that logo has just been refreshed over the years. Nothing dramatic that all of a sudden makes people question: is this a brand new company? Right? Pepsi.
Oh my God.
Love it or hate it, especially that one weird logo, the half smile logo that they paid $1 million for, and everybody's just like $1 million for the biggest load of bullshit. It has primarily been the exact same logo. They use the same colors. Yeah. Basically, the white space in the middle, the three colors that is legendary for them, right? For a little while, they got rid of the name in the middle, but now with our latest rendition, it looks exactly the same as the 70s ones.
Yes,
just
exactly.
newer font. Newer font, slight tweaks to the circles, the waves, and everything else. So Pepsi's been a good example of a refresh over the years, right? Yeah. And even though a lot of people hate this one, MasterCard technically would be a refresh, all right? Because again, all they've done, they've kept the two main components of the brand, right? The two circles that are overlapping, right? Used to have the name, they would update the font in the name, they would update the size of the circles, and then more recently dropped the name and kind of made the circles a little bit more contemporary. But for all intents and purposes, looking at it, you knew it was MasterCard. There was no question. So this is a good example of the refresh, okay? Where if you were to overhaul it completely or completely rebrand a logo, which is a little confusing because we were talking about new brands, but we'll say overhaul the logo altogether, right? This is if the company's gone through significant changes, okay? And they've got a whole new target audience, right? Everything changes on a whole, and it's like that whole new transformation that they're undergoing, okay? So examples of this is Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay. Dunkin'.
Same audience. Okay. They do. Audience is the same. The primary company is the same, but the overall corporate, look, feel, direction is changing a little bit, right? I don't know if I would consider that a brand new brand because it's still Dunkin' Donuts. It's just the new and improved Dunkin' Donuts, okay?
Well, so probably we're getting away from donuts, right?
Well, exactly, right?
Because
it's kind of like
sandwiches and things like that.
Signaling to the world that it's like, hey, this is the new and improved us, right? And we're so, I mean, again, you could argue that this is a new brand, which in some ways, I guess it feels like it. Yeah. But it's still the same company. Yeah. So this is what happens when a company just kind of overhauls their interior, right? They make things look better, right? So it feels like a whole new company, but it's just they're overhauling for a specific reason, right? Okay. So again, Dunkin' is a good example for that, okay? Because again, they drop the donuts to signify that they now have new items in there, right? Still the same audience, just they're going through some changes. British Petroleum, BP, when they went from that to that whole new starburst, right? That, kind of signified as a new future ahead from them. So they needed something that was bigger than just a refresh. Okay. Kia in my opinion. Okay. So again, the car has been primarily the same and it's been getting better and better and better over the years. So it was like, you know what? We now need to overhaul that damn logo. Okay. So again, would you consider that a rebrand? Maybe it's a rebrand, but the thing is, it's same product, same audience.
Yeah.
It's just now they want people to look at them differently.
Right.
Same with Duncan, same with BP, right? It's like we're moving forward with this. It's not that the company has necessarily changed so much or the audience. It's just more so, their direction, their outlook on everything.
Yeah.
Burger King, actually, and that's the other one, right? Like,
Beautiful.
I mean, let's face it, they didn't change their burgers.
Nope.
Okay. The burgers were always decent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That cringes to say that.
It used to be.
I'm a little bit of a burger snob, but I mean, what did they do, right? It was an overhaul per se. I wouldn't call that a logo refresh compared to their last one.
Yeah.
They went back to something more retro. They overhauled their stores. They overhauled their campaign. But the company itself didn't really change. So it was just more the facade of the whole place itself and the environment. So that was a whole rebrand in that case. Or overhaul in that case. So I see them as differently. Maybe I'm just splitting hairs here. Maybe a new logo only is with a refresh, and the rebrand is with a new brand. I don't know, but I kind of see the difference between the two.
Yes. The core business of what everybody was doing there was
Exactly
changing,
the same.
but they were changing. Like just Dunkin' Donuts is getting away, so they need to get rid of the name Dunkin' Donuts, right? Because it's not just donuts anymore. You don't want to just pigeonhole that. We've got other cool things.
Yeah,
right?
they did a really good job.
Yeah, I can totally see.
Well, okay, think of it that way then. You know what? Either it's just a new logo, like a new logo or a new brand, and then it's a refresh or it's an overhaul. Like how drastic do you want to get to, right? So I think that's the primary differences in how deep you want to go with these.
Yeah.
In this case with this customer, the company's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
They're the company, the audience, the way they service everybody, because they've done a great job. It's just, they are really, really outdated. So this could, in fact, be like an overhaul.
Yeah.
Right. And there were a lot of signs that basically talk to this that I think everybody missed. Okay. We saw it because we would snicker at the old logo.
It's fun to
See what I
laugh
said?
at those
I
old.
snickered at it. Who the hell says that anymore?
Snickered.
I snickered at it. I was being very polite about it.
Snickering.
But the reality is, I figured if somebody, had this simple outline to be like, you know what, boom, yes, it checks this box, checks this box. They could have easily gone after it in the same direction.
Right.
So I just listed out 15 signs why your customer should update their logo, okay, for everybody to follow. And this just brings it forward to kind of make you realize sometimes you're looking at a logo so long, you think it's okay.
Yeah.
But the reality is it needs to undergo some significant changes,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we're going to just briefly talk about how to actually approach this or how we would approach this in the future if we actually did, okay?
Nice.
So 15 signs.
Nice.
Number one, the most obvious, it just has an outdated design.
Right.
Okay, plain and simple. If your logo looks like it's stuck in the past, it embraces this older style from a decade or two previous. That's a pretty obvious. And again, don't think that it's trendy now again, because the reality is, even if you did embrace the 70s theme again, there are differences to how modern retro understanding embellishments, pulling inspiration from something like that looks a lot different than the actual 70s stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Even, dare I say, if somebody was to even, revisit some of the maybe legends like Paul Brands or Massimo Vignelli, some of their older stuff, they might keep a lot of the exact, feel and like, the embrace what the vibe it was, but they might make some tweaks to it. And you do see that often with a lot of, companies as they kind of go through the change. So if the design looks outdated, okay, good sign right there that, you can knock on that door. Okay?
Yes.
Number two, no longer relevant.
Oh.
Okay, so oftentimes maybe a company has gone through something like their business has evolved a little bit, the logo's a little bit old. There's a little bit of a mismatch, right? Maybe, there was a company locally that, they went from one product, which, was kind of like a remote controlled, arm thing, where you can control devices with their hand. And then they switched to glasses.
Yeah. Total pivot.
Very different, right? Like if the company goes through a significant product change or direction, maybe that logo needs to keep up and embrace this whole new look, feel, product thing, right?
Yeah.
Number three, if there isn't a story connected to that logo.
Right.
Okay. So right now, the whole world is all about your brand story.
Yeah.
Okay. And does your logo, like scream that brand story? If it doesn't actually, relate to the company, its story, its mission, its long-term goal, then it's kind of a lost opportunity here. So I do think that not that it's a logo's job to tell the entire history of a brand.
Yeah.
Okay. That's asking too much to say that, hey, we started like this and we ended up here and then we brought in this. That's not a job. But if your logo can tell a story, okay, that'll just cement itself into your customer's mind.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, if the logo doesn't have that story, good opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think a lot of these logos, these old logos, to me, it looks like somebody just pulled something from a clip art book and did, you know what I mean? Like there looks like there's no thought involved.
Often that it was the case back then, right?
I would guess that would be, this is what happens.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay. There was you couldn't go online and look for a certain icon. You couldn't go online and just type something in and it magically popped up. You would have like all the CDs full of black and white clip art, which is basically fancy icons that you would just scroll through hundreds and hundreds. They were so horrible.
They were terrible.
Now, and I mean, back then there was something, romantic about them.
It was
cute.
Yeah.
Right. And it was
that's all there was.
That's all there was.
Yeah.
Right. And now if you were to look at them, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Like how far we've come. There came a point where when we started using them, when we started our business, because again, that was the thing, right? We would intentionally embrace them and make them look retro.
Yeah.
And for a little while, it felt like for a whole year, every job we did, we're like, hey, let's make it look retro. I got some great black and white clip art that we can use for this. And we would like totally go, use those retro colors and just these silly little like, the happy guy with holding the beer, the woman holding the warmly baked bread, right? Like, wow.
Yes.
We jumped all over that shit, dude. All right, number 4.
Okay.
Number four.
If
their logo is too complex. Right? So again, we're always going on about like, you can't clutter a logo. Okay, I'm all for, simplifying, but you need to simplify not for the sake of simplifying, but to be able to leave the least amount of elements in there that benefit the logo, the story, not make it like a chaotic mess.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when logos have drop shadows, gradients, a little bird in the corner, some little, hidden element here with a drop shadow.
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah, exactly.
It is so hard to look at.
Yes.
It's just a disaster.
Totally. And you think like the very first Apple logo, like, holy hell. There's no way you get away with that nowadays. You know
even
what I mean?
if you think about the evolution of Apple logos, right?
That's it.
Because I mean, again, not only that
Apple's always
first
been there.
Newton one, right? But which was pretty crazy. That
it was insane. Yeah.
But then, then they did the rainbowed, like multicolored. And it wasn't even rainbow was in like, like to be like,
LGBTQ.
LGBT.
Yeah.
Yes. It wasn't like that. It was just, it was just
a design
colors of
choice.
Benetton type thing, right?
Yeah.
But they had the bevel on it. They had a little bit of a shadow. So even that went through years of upgrades, right? So you wouldn't think that it could get any simpler than it was. So there's a good opportunity here that if you're seeing somebody's logo and you can simplify it instead of, it being a 12-point star, see if it can work as a 6-point star, right? I think Alan, if I'm not mistaken, did one where he took the existing Shell logo. Okay, the Shell petroleum logo. And he simplified the amount of ridges in the shell. And the difference it made when you resized it. Okay, and essentially it was the exact same logo. But now all of a sudden when you made it 1/10 of the size, you
still
you saw the ridges.
Yes.
So if there's a good opportunity to simplify a logo because it's too complex, jump on that shit. All right. Number 5. There's no emotional hit, no emotional connection with that logo, right? The logo needs to trigger some sort of feeling. Now, granted, that feeling, usually ties in with the brand itself.
Right.
And if the brand is does its job well, when people look at it, they'll feel something. But that logo needs to embrace that feeling. Okay. So and hopefully it's a good feeling. It's not chaos, it's not hell, it's not people's anger, right? It's something nice. So again, if there's no emotional hit when you first see that logo, that's a good opportunity to find an angle to get in there.
Yeah.
Definitely, and we've gone on about this time and time again, the logo, if it's not responsive or it's not adaptable.
Yeah.
Okay, we have, for years now, we keep telling people that their logo, their brand ID, their marks, they have to change with the space that it's being used in. If it's a tall, thin space, that logo needs to have a vertical option.
Yeah.
If it's something long and wide, it needs to have something wide. If it's a favicon, it needs to embrace everything in just a tiny little spot. Okay, so it needs to be responsive. And some old school people might still believe or be anti this, but it's so easy to sell them on this when all you got to do is show them Disney.
Yeah.
And be like, listen, I know your company is doing well. You've almost hit that $4 million mark.
Yeah.
Let me show you this little company called Disney. Okay, they're maybe a little bigger, but look what they did with their logo, right? And again,
Exactly.
time and time again, the more brands you look at, everybody is jumping on this because you need to these days. Otherwise, man, how many people have a really shitty logo up in their favicon,
crammed in their
website corner, right?
You don't even know what the hell it is.
Yeah, right. So again, if it's not adaptive, not responsive, okay? A no-brainer, of course, and this is number 7, if the fonts on it are outdated. Okay, so obviously, two parts of a logo, usually there's the mark and then there's the fonts that adjoin that.
Right.
If those fonts look dated, but even the logo mark itself is pretty darn good, well, dude, easy opportunity to walk in and be like, hey, you know what? Your logo is great, but your font might be a little outdated. I think we can update, just a font choice here, plus across all your materials, totally refresh your whole company. Perfect opportunity to knock on a door, right?
Yeah, big time.
While you're there, you can also adjust the colors if they need to be, right? Being that the colors now aren't necessarily web friendly and the whole world is digital.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are opportunities to kind of, check into something like this.
Nice.
Number 8, and this one's kind of tricky, but if it's a boring design, right? And oftentimes what happens is when people start off, they pick something safe and generic. Problem is, safe and generic isn't memorable. Okay, no matter how great the company is. And I know for a fact that we've had customers and their logo was the letter Q. And it was in a font, I think the font was Garamond, or it was one of the classic fonts. But it was a Q. And there was not enough to differentiate them from every other letter in the alphabet, right? Or letter any other company that's got a Q. So, they've recently undergone like a huge transformation, huge rebrand, right? But again, now, and this was like 15 years later, okay? So again, if something is boring, it's not memorable. Okay? And granted, I wouldn't go tell your customer that their logo is boring, but, you can use the point that, it's not as memorable as it could be, or it's not as memorable as the experience people have with the company.
Exactly.
Right? There's some schmooze there.
Some
guys.
schmooze.
There's
You
some
always
schmooze.
got to be subtle with the customer, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding, right? All right. Obviously, if it's fad driven, if it follows a trend, if it's something, like if it chases it, and God knows there's a million of these logos out there, right? Somebody's built their own logo when they started. They added drop shadows. They added gradients to it. They added a trendy font to it. Boom. Perfect opportunity. Just let that one bounce if you can, right? But here's one that isn't as obvious. If all of a sudden they have a new competitor. Okay. If they have a new competitor in the area, in their market that is actually of concern, it's a great opportunity to then start comparing the two brands and seeing how do you elevate this brand to be more like, because often new competitor comes in with fresh new look, fresh new messaging, fresh new brand. Theirs might be dated, okay, might be old, might be a little more bland, working great for them. But now all of a sudden they stand the chance to lose some market share based on a new competitor. So this is one of those things where it's like you have the opportunity to tell them that they need to start stepping up, or they might have to step aside and let their new competitor kind of do the job for them.
That's a good motivator.
Tell me about it, right? Sadly, some companies do that too late.
Exactly, which is too bad.
Growth is always a very safe way to let a company know that their logo now needs to reflect the growth of a company.
Right.
And again, whether it's a rebrand, whether it's a refresh, right? Companies often start off with something very basic. And as they grow, their logo doesn't evolve. Our whole business, in the past 15 years has been built based on this premise. That startups start very basic. They have really shitty logos, shitty brands. Their messaging is completely compartmentalized in 20 different places.
Yep.
We walked in and we're like, look, you're now 5 times the company you were when you started 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But your brand still looks like it is.
Looks like your startup. Yeah.
So let's bring all that shit together and now take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Okay. So growth is a fantastic way to let a company know that it's time for them to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
If there's confusion with their logo or brand, okay, and what I mean by that is it's not necessarily that the logo is a bad logo, but if it doesn't now make sense with their business, okay? And again, when people start, they offer one thing to the market. That's often changes. Their audience is the same, but maybe they're offering more. We see this all the time in our space, right? A lot of times people start off in something basic like home renovation, but then they end up, killing it in like some sort of custom product within the home renovation market. Right. And it's just very confusing.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, if there's some sort of confusion with the brand and what they're actually delivering to their audience, okay, big opportunity.
Yeah.
Number 13, okay, obviously, just like the one that we're experiencing right now, if the design looks amateur, okay, if it looks like it was just kind of, ripped off from somewhere else, slapped together, okay, pulled from clip art from the 70s.
Yeah, that was a real thing, people.
Right? It really was. It's time for them now to invest in a pro level ramp up.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's kind of the good opportunity, easy opportunity to kind of let company know that, you're not the same company where you started and, let's now get your logo caught up to the new awesome professional company you are.
Yeah.
Repositioning, of course, if you got a new audience, okay, if you got new products, need a new logo. Okay. And this kind of goes back with the whole new brand idea. Okay. But easy pickings. Okay. You can jump in there and be like, hey, you used to be a French fry shop. Now you're a full service restaurant. Okay. You used to be a little trailer, like serving fried chicken and French fries. And now you're actually a sit down establishment. Well, we need to kind of elevate your logo, versus what you had. Okay. So that kind of goes with the, if you're repositioning the brand, bigger opportunity there, of course. And last but not least, and this one's kind of shitty to say, but if a company goes through bad press, okay, and this one's a pretty ballsy one to approach people. Yeah. But often a lot of times the only resort they have is to completely start fresh again. Yeah. They have their audience. They can kind of keep, keeping everybody internally happy. But as far as public perception goes, sometimes it's easier to cut your losses and kind of start fresh and be like, hey, fresh new start, fresh new logo. Yeah. So I don't necessarily recommend walking into a place and be like, hey, you guys really fucked up last week. Do you want a new logo this week?
What a shit show. Hey, how about a logo?
Maybe not the best sales tactic,
Again, subtlety will pay off if you're going to do something like that.
So these are 15
awesome,
really, really easy pickings, okay, on signs that, your customer or somebody you see out in the marketplace needs a new logo. Yeah. Outdated design, it's no longer relevant, there's no story to it, it's too complex, there's no emotional hit, it's not responsive, it uses old fonts, it uses a boring design, it's very trend or fad driven, there's new competition in the market, they've experienced growth, but their logo hasn't, there's confusion in their logo, the logo looks very amateurish, they need to reposition, or they need to completely, start fresh because of bad press.
That's right.
So these are 15 really easy reasons where you could almost go to any company and make an argument that it's time for you guys to elevate this. Yeah. However, if you go in and start picking apart their shit,
nobody likes that, do they?
Might not necessarily be great, because then you end up coming across as just
an arrogant prick,
arrogant designer that everybody hates. Yeah. Okay, and this is the battle of all graphic designers. Yeah. Okay, so instead, my recommendation is go in blazing guns about how awesome their accomplishments have been. Yes. Unless it's the bad press. Let's avoid that one.
Yeah, okay? that's a different strategy altogether.
But I mean, again, if you focus on their accomplishments and their new solutions and how they solve the world's problems, right? Rather than critiquing what they currently have, they're going to be a lot more receptive and open to the idea, because here you've been stroking their ego, praising their accomplishments, letting them know that you've been paying attention, that you understand everything, right? Yeah. But hey, there's another opportunity here to jump in. So definitely go in on the plus side, don't go in, criticizing anything, right? You want to highlight their success, celebrate their growth, congratulate them, right? And then they can consider now a good time to possibly update their visual identity to embrace this. Okay. So, by embracing this now, it makes this moment in time future-proof. Okay. Because again, now their logo it's expanding. It can work on all these different places, resized, simplified, one color, 10 colors, it works. It takes their brand and immortalizes it. Okay. It will help improve the recognition. So now everybody will realize how great they've done, not just the people who are close to it. Right. Because again, the company could do great, but if the logo still looks like it did 20 years ago,
it reflects poorly on you.
Exactly, dude. Exactly, right? And obviously, it'll align with their new direction, with their success, with their new audience, with their new mission. It aligns perfectly there. Obviously, it works across all the different mediums, like we said. This now gives us new opportunities to find places to promote this success. Okay, so now we can take it and we can put it all over. Hey, guess what? Your LinkedIn is still showing an old logo, dude. Now we can put the new logo on LinkedIn and let everybody see how awesome you guys are, right? Update their vehicles if they have vehicles. Update their signage, right? There's going to be a lot of new opportunities.
Hats, everything.
And because the logo is now responsive, it can fit in all these areas.
Stuff. Exactly.
Right? And what this does, you let them know, reinforce the fact that this will elevate how their customers and, future customers will perceive the brand. Okay, because that's the huge thing. Perception is the sad reality is it's like people will judge a book by its cover. And, sadly, now that the company has done so well, we need to now, elevate their brand ID to match that, to elevate their corporate ID, to give the same impression that, that everybody sees and feels from within, right? That's super important. Totally. Because what this will do is it'll now make them more competitive, and it'll make them more recognizable. So these are the key things you want to tell people, okay? Because they will be a lot more open. You don't want them to think that you're just trying to, be an expense, be another line item.
You're just trying to milk me from my cash.
Right. No, it's not. You have to let them know that there is, a reason to this, and it's to help them, put out what they've been working so hard to create within. Okay? And most importantly, you want to remind them that you want to be there to help them with this journey. You want to let them know that you're just not a designer that's just pointing out flaws and being like, I can fix this, I can give you a new font. You want to let them know that you see what's happened. You see, what they've accomplished. And now you want to help collaborate with them to take their visual identity to the next level, just like they did internally with their company. Okay. Because what that'll do is that not only will give you one project, but ideally it'll give you that whole land expand opportunity that we keep talking about.
Big time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because with that new logo, that's going to create a whole bunch of different opportunities for people to,
Absolutely. Well, that leads to everything else.
Exactly.
Update to their website. Like you said, hats, clothes, business cards. You don't have to deliver the hats. But you can be in charge of creating the material, putting it on the mock-up, selling them the idea, outfitting everybody. I mean, it's, in my opinion, that's fun.
It's good stuff.
To kind of have that high level control and be like, bam, 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 bam.
And again, that gets the client thinking like, oh, hey, wait a second. I've never envisioned my original shitty logo on a on a hat before.
Because it was so damn complex, we never could with all those, with that spectrum gradient and the drop shadow. With that whole triangle prism that we used to emulate our relationship with Led Zeppelin, which was the band we were watching when we first thought of the idea of this back in 1970 something. Yes, guess what? That was too much to tell on a hat. But the new logo, we'll do a good job.
We'll do a good job of that,
It's so true. The expectations people have on a damn logo.
On a damn logo, exactly.
So this is silly, and this is like a no-brainer for us, but I think for some people because this logo project just came to us, and it was about 12 years overdue, in my opinion, of an overhaul, right? If not 20. I think that now this is a perfect opportunity to be like, sometimes the obvious to us isn't necessarily as obvious to everybody else.
So you think there's a whole section of people around this community of this company missed the boat on redesigning this logo?
Dude, I hate to say it, but whether the town is 500 people or 500,000 people, okay? All the tools out there like Canva, YouTube, crafty people, right? And you don't even have to be a professional graphic designer in a small town to look at something and realize it's extremely outdated.
Right.
Okay. And, putting these kind of like points out there can let, whether it's a junior, a senior, somebody who's just kind of retired and just kind of like dabbling still in this, putting this out there and being like, holy shit, like that coffee shop's been there for 25 years. There's an opportunity there.
Yeah.
Wow, that tailor shop has been there for 20 years. Opportunity there. Wow, that tool and die shop or that widget manufacturing shop or that networking shop. There's businesses everywhere that just kind of like are sitting there, right? And you have to remind people that this isn't just a matter of like local presence. This is their global presence.
Nothing is no longer local.
Nothing. There's exactly. It's so true. Even that local coffee shop has an opportunity to put this shit online and be a tourist destination next time somebody comes through your sleepy little town.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, dude.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Trust me, when I go visit towns, all these little sleepy, and maybe I'm weird. I like to do that. Like go out of this area and visit all these small little towns just to see what makes them work.
Yeah.
I always look for the most appealing place to get my coffee from, to get my baking from. I always do.
Yeah, somebody who looks like they put some thought into their marketing and
I want to find
doing.
that cool little place, not that place that will give me food poisoning.
Yeah.
Right? And honestly, and I think everybody's like that, okay? I think if you go to a cool little town somewhere and there is this coffee shop that just stands out, you're going to want to check that place out. Even if in the end it's really shitty coffee, at least you were like, well, when it looked good, coffee was shit, but now I know, right? This is, everybody judges books by their covers.
Totally.
100%.
Yeah. It's sad but true.
Sad but true. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, listen, this was all spurred up because, we had a project that was probably 12 to 20 years overdue for a rebrand, and nobody picked it up. And we waited for it to come to us. So I think that you all have huge opportunities to go out, relook at everything in your area, look at everything in your close network, and start thinking about how you could approach these companies and offer them a whole new level of how to look at their own business, how other people could look at their business and promote them, congratulate them, and how you want to be part of that journey. Because I think this is very easy pickings.
Yeah, big time.
For any graphic designer out there.
There's gold in them there hills.
There's gold, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, dude.
Yeah, this is good.
I think that's good.
This is great. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said.
Yes.
My name's Massimo.
My name is Sean.
I'm leaving for Kansas, so yeah, I won't talk to you guys for a week, but you won't notice because you're going to hear us again next week.
To the magic of the internet.
Stay creative
and stay angry.
Peace.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.